Are you ever just the tiniest bit baffled by the provisions that God has made for you in your life? Like, I guess we have no way of knowing as we're in the moment. But I was doing my Bible study this morning, and it made me reflect on, I guess, just my life in general. And there are so many times throughout my life that God made provisions for me that, had that not been the truth, the outcome would have been so different. And what kind of provisions? Well, I mean, I guess we could start from the very beginning, the kind of provisions that He made for me. I have two older brothers and two older sisters, and I'm 4 years younger than my next oldest sibling. And right before I came along, my brother needed a nanny, and some of the young people that were working for my dad said, hey, my aunt might be able to take care of Jerry. And so, sure enough, she did. She came and took care of my brother, and then at that time my mother was pregnant with me, and so the day I came home from the hospital, Miss Hall was her name, Dorothy Hall, she was there, and my mom said she handed me to her, and she never left. She was there for the rest of her life. And I had an amazing family that was very eccentric and not typical in any sense at all. Lord, we could do another 15 episodes on that, so we'll just table that for now. But my family was a lot, and my family was busy. I guess we could just speak mainly of my mother and daddy. They were travel enthusiasts, to say the least, and so they were on the road a lot. And Miss Hall was there with Jerry and I, my older sister to some degree, but mainly Jerry and I. And my parents would stay gone for months at a time. We wouldn't know where they were in the world. They traveled all over the world for fun and for business. And so we didn't have cell phones and FaceTime and computers and things like that. So, we would hear from them every other day. She would try to find the phone and call us. Sometimes it would be a week or so that we wouldn't hear from her because she wouldn't be somewhere where there was access to phones. So anyway, we lived a very non-traditional life. Miss Hall was there with us. She had her own home, but she just lived with us. And so I essentially had two mothers. It wasn't, I still at this point in my life can't make a distinction between the two. Like, did I love one more than the other? No. Was I closer to one? No. It was really like having two mothers. So I was blessed beyond measure because my mother was not present. She was gone most of the time, way more of the time than she wasn't. And so for God to send somebody that loved me like my mother loved me, and I loved them back. So when my mother was gone, certainly I missed her, and I did not like for her to be gone, and especially not for as long as she was. But I always had Miss Hall, and it was never, when my mother came home, there was nothing that was ever weird. They were right there in the same room together. I would ask either one of them to permission to do something, or if I could have something, or if I could do something, or whatever. I mean, I didn't think of them any differently than each other. There was never a power struggle between them. So it was never like my mother was jealous of my love for Miss Hall. She loved and appreciated that love that I had for her. And it gave my mother and daddy the freedom to do what they wanted to do, which was travel the world and do every fun thing that you can imagine. And then when they came home, they were very committed to us and committed to playing with us, enjoying us, teaching us, training us, loving us. Just they were full in when they were home, but it was very rare that was the truth. So I can speak for myself. I have wonderful memories of my childhood. In my opinion, it was fantastic, as untraditional as it was. Yeah. So provisions. That was the first one that he made for me, and then throughout childhood, through school, elementary, middle school, high school, I couldn't do the most basic things. So I don't know if people promoted me socially. I don't know what it was. I was either really good at something or I was not good at it at all. Like, for some reason, I had these little blocks that I could not pick up certain concepts. And if I couldn't get the concept, then I just, for whatever reason, really, really struggled. So, and they really didn't know why. My family really wasn't one to lean on, you've got a problem, or something's wrong with you. Our family kind of skipped over that, and there was really nothing wrong with us in their opinion, other than we were lazy and we just needed to get up and try harder, kind of a mindset. And so we never leaned on that, and never went in and got testing to see why I struggled to read a story and answer questions about it. I don't know why that didn't seem important, but anyway, we never focused on that. So I made it all the way to fast forward to college, and now it's time to go take an entrance exam. And nobody thinks anything about that, right? I was not going to Harvard. I was going to Texarkana Community College, So, you really didn't have to be super worried about taking that little exam. It was more like taking a TOS test or something. It wasn't super complicated. But you did have to read little stories and answer questions about them, and I was not capable of that still, as when I've graduated from high school with honors, mind you, with a 3.7 GPA. So it wasn't like I wasn't in honors classes, but I wasn't in special needs or classes at all. But I did have to have tutoring. I did have to have help with classes. So we knew that there was a learning deficiency. We just didn't address it. We just got the tutoring and moved on. We didn't try to figure out the source of the learning disability or the learning struggles that I was having. Anyway, so consequently, when I took this little test, I did poorly on it and was not able to take just normal comp and rhetoric English, in college. And so I had to go take a non-credit class to be able to prepare me to go take the normal English classes that you take as a freshman in college. And so all of that would lead you to say that I was probably not going to do well in school because I couldn't read the books and understand the information. But I could go to class, and as long as I went to class and listened to the lectures, I could pick it up enough to pass the test. And so that's what I did. That kind of overlapped with one of the other provisions that God made for me, was I had no idea what I wanted to do or be, or when I grew up. That we didn't talk about that much at my house. It was just kind of a given that I would be in a business position like my mother and daddy, and They just didn't think much about that. They were not educated, and so they didn't put much emphasis on that. My sister was the first person in our family to go to college and earn her master's degree. Um, so they really didn't say, "Hey, you should go to school," or that just wasn't what they did. So I took the ASVAB test when I was, I guess, a junior, probably in high school, and I think the top things that they recommended for me were being a firefighter, being a police officer, or being a nurse. So I just had to use a little deductive reasoning there and thought, well, I'm afraid of the boogeyman, so I probably can't be a police officer. As much as I was all about law and order and would love to keep everybody lined up, I couldn't do the other side. So pretty much had to get rid of being a police officer. And then a fireman, I loved that, but I didn't love the idea of going into burning buildings. That seemed counterintuitive to me, because I really wasn't the strongest person or the most physically equipped to do that job. So anyway, I marked that one off the list. And so then I decided, well, okay, nursing's what's left. So I applied for a nursing scholarship. I had never thought about nursing in my life. I didn't like aspire to be a nurse. Anyway, so I applied for the scholarship, and lo and behold, I got it. A full scholarship for all of my education and all of my books, with the exception of $500 that my mother paid for my last semester of college. So there you go. I went to nursing school. Well, as we talked about earlier, I couldn't even read the stories to get into Comp and Rhetoric 1 in college. So obviously reading nursing books that were this thick, a bunch of them for a whole lot of years, was going to be a challenge for me. So, and I had no idea how I was going to do it. I didn't even think about how I was going to do it. I just knew that this is what I was doing, and so I would figure it out. Like, not figuring it out was never an option at my house, so we always just figured it out. So I never thought, you can't do it. I thought, you can do it. My mother and daddy had told me I could do anything for my whole life since I could remember, and I believed them. I believed them that I could do anything. And so I just didn't question it. I just went. And so I don't know how I would have ever done that except God making provision for me. And what he did was send me two of the best people in the world, Karen Carroll and Julie Hendrickson. If you're listening to this, thank you, Lord, for y'all. What would I have done without you guys? I wouldn't be a nurse today. I'll tell you what I would have done without you. I would probably be doing something that didn't require as much reading. So he gave me the best study partners in the world that were as committed to the process as I was. And consequently, I got to do exactly 1/3 of the work because we all trusted each other. And so I could do my third. I could figure it out. I could do my third of the work, and I was committed for those 4 years we spent together, and we stayed at the top of our class and graduated with honors and did an amazing job. And I could not have done any of that without them. So that was God sending me two amazing people that I could trust, that were consistent and honest and honorable and dedicated to the process. So I could have never made it without them and their help. And that's just making it to 23 or 24 years old. And I can tell you 10 more things in between 0 and 25 that he did that were amazing. And I can tell you 100 more between then and now. The point is, I guess, there's a whole lot of points, but one thing that I would like to encourage you with is when things seem like I don't have enough money, I'm not smart enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not whatever enough. I can't do that because I have to skip that opportunity because of this. And so you aim so low because you think you are not equipped. But if God brings you to it, in my experience, if God brings you to it, He will equip you along the way. And I don't know how that always looks because it's shown up differently for me in my life over and over and over in so many different ways. Sometimes that's just a door being opened for you. Sometimes that's putting the right people in your life. Sometimes that's financial. Sometimes that's locking the door and nailing it shut where you can't possibly get back through it. Sometimes it's God taking literally everything out of your life. And that has been, for me, He has literally stripped me down to nothing. Where I had no confidence, no job, no money, no house, no relationship, no baby, no, just all, not, my family is about the only thing that never gave up on me. Even my friends, the ones that you thought would never walk away for anything, were stripped out of my life in a moment's notice, and it was crazy. It was the craziest thing. It was like the rapture had taken place and I was left here all by myself. It was one of the most upsetting and hurtful experiences of my life. And I can look back today and say, thank you, Lord. Because if He would have left even one of those strands in my life, I would have grabbed back onto it and kept pulling. And thankfully, He didn't. He didn't leave one. He didn't leave any connection where I could get back to that person. He took it all away. And it was so painful. And it's so difficult when you're in the middle of that pain and that heartache to remember that God has a purpose for absolutely everything. There's not anything, not the pain, not the hurt, not the sadness, not the loneliness, not the lack of success or the, feeling overlooked or, none of that is wasted. None of it is wasted. I am in such a better place in my life because of that. So sometimes God does for us what we can't do for ourselves, and that is often painful. But if we can just try to remember when we're in the middle of the storm that every bit of it is for our good. And God is always working on our behalf. Always. There is never an exception to that. But that does not mean that the process is not painful and gut-wrenching and humiliating. But He's refining us in the best of ways. But that refinement process, the more jagged edges we have, the more painful the process is. I have had the blessing of God never giving up on me. Never. Even when I turned the other way and ran the other direction and didn't even look back, He continued to have His hand on my life and helped me avoid tragedy 1,000 times. Now, I ran myself in the ditch more times than I would like to report, and I'm happy to tell them all to you. I can't do it today because who's got time to listen to all this at one time? But I have got just one tragic story after the next as related to my life that I brought on myself. Yes, I've got a few little sad stories in there about poor Marianne that other people did to me. And those were terrible things. When I look back on them, they were awful things that happened to me. But that was so little of what happened. most of the tragedy and heartache and pain and disappointment and frustration and anxiety that was part of my life was inflicted on it by me. I did the majority of it. And so, yeah, I don't know. What I'm saying is, if you're in the bad time, don't give up. God's not going to give up on you. He's working on you. Surrender and tell him, just do it, Lord. Whatever it is you're doing, just do it. And it will be better on the other side. And the sooner you surrender, the shorter the lesson. The longer it takes us to surrender, the longer the lesson. In my experience. Maybe somebody else is having a different experience. If you are, please share it so we can all learn from it. If you're struggling, there's a reason. If everything's hard, stop and look at yourself. Quit looking at everybody else. Quit looking at your circumstances. Quit looking at all that. Just look inward and see what your contribution is. What am I contributing to this problem, this circumstance, this situation, this feeling, this whatever it is that you're contributing? Ask God to help you see your side and what you can do about your side. And he's going to make provisions on the other sides. You don't have to worry about that side. He's going to make provisions. He's going to open the doors. He's going to lock the doors that you don't need to go through. He's going to protect you when you need protecting. And he's going to get out of the way when you need a lesson, So, trust the process. Give it all you got. Don't be scared to go try. Just because you're not equipped today doesn't mean God's not going to equip you tomorrow and along the way. I think part of that is him building your faith. And so he doesn't just give it to you all at once. He makes you keep on walking and keep on taking the next step, and he reveals it to you a little bit at a time. I think sometimes if he gave you the whole picture all at once, it would be so overwhelming you would not be able to move forward. So just trust the process. Take the next step. Do the next right thing. Take the focus off of the rest of the world unless you're just loving on somebody. If you're going to critique somebody, look within. Try to see what you can do better. How can you be better? How can you be kinder? How can you be more patient? How can you be more thoughtful? Don't worry about what everybody else can do. Everybody else is going to have to worry about themselves. One of my favorite little videos in the whole world is a little girl that's in the back seat of the car trying to put on her seatbelt, and her daddy wants to help her, and she is just completely not interested in telling him to worry about himself. You worry about yourself, she says. And I think that's very good advice. Worry about yourself, and the rest will take care of itself. God will make provisions. He'll send the right people to you. He'll get you the right lessons so you'll be the most equipped to handle the battle that he's sent you to fight. Don't give up. Have a great day. Push for excellence everywhere you go.